Here is some advice if your CV is too long. As I've said on a previous video, the majority of CVs should be 2 pages long. And here is some advice of what to do if your CV is longer than what it should be. So firstly, make sure that your CV is relevant and focused on the position that you're applying for and for the organisation you're applying to. This is where you need to do some proper research on the organisation and the role and the kind of person that they're looking to recruit. So you need to do some really proper research, and that in itself will make your CV very focused and relevant. Also, make sure that you focus on the last no more than 10-15 years of your career. Focus on the relevant positions and the last 10-15 years of your career. There are ways where you can group the particular roles that you've had. So if you've done very similar roles for different organisations over the years, there are ways that you can sort of chunk them together so that you're not repeating yourself on the tasks and the skills that you gained from those roles. So you can actually chunk them together. So that's a very good way of condensing your CV. The other thing to think about is the font size that you're using. I don't recommend that you go any lower than 11.5 because it makes it too small, but you can go down to 11.5, but the majority, the sort of standard size I would say is 12 for the main body of the text. So it might be that you can have a little play around with the font size. Also have a look at your spacing, so the spacing in between. Could you reduce them at all? Could you make it slightly smaller? Again, you need to be consistent, and you need to be mindful as well that the CV needs to be pleasant to read. You don't want loads of it all chunked together without much spacing, so be really mindful that it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, but it is something that you can play around with quite effectively. The other thing is hobbies and interests, which I do like to include on a CV, particularly if it's relevant. You can highlight some relevant skills and experiences for the job, perhaps some transferable skills you can demonstrate. So it is useful to put it on, but if you are struggling for space, you can take it off and perhaps include it in your cover letter instead. The other thing is your reference details. Now, generally speaking, I recommend that people just put a line at the end with the subheading references and put something along the lines of available on request. But if your existing CV has already got all of the employer addresses and contact details, you can take that off unless the potential employer has specifically requested that information to be on there. To be honest, I prefer not to put it on there anyway, because you don't necessarily want your potential employer to contact your existing employer in advance without your knowledge, without your permission. So I recommend that people don't put that on anyway. But it is a very good way of reducing space, making your CV a lot more condensed if you do already have that on. So the important thing is to make sure your CV is focused and relevant, and not waffle on and repeat yourself, and tailor it each time to the organisation and the position that you're applying for. One size does not fit all. You need to be tweaking and changing your CV every single time that you send it out to a potential employer.